Thank you, everyone who's here listening. Before we start, full disclaimer. We are not professionals nor certified stockbrokers. We do sell, buy, and trade stocks, but at our own discretion. The content that we talk about is based on our own opinion, not fact, and the content is for entertainment purposes only. Remember, what you invest is at your own risk. If you know nothing about stock investing, we highly suggest you seek professional help. Due to the content of the show, this is for mature audience only. Welcome to the Hustle, the Struggle Investment Podcast, where two regular guys not from Wall Street come together and simply talk stocks and investments. We're here to give you the raw and uncut stories of an everyday trader. Tune in and zone out. Let's talk money. Hey, what's up, everyone? Thanks for tuning in. This is episode number 2 of the Hustle, the Struggle Investment Podcast. If this is your first time listening or tuning in, make sure that you check out episode 1. Episode 1 is our first episode. We just kind of introduce ourselves, and the topic of that show was our first trade experience. So we basically just tell stories of when we first got into the stock market, buying our first security. But yeah, this episode, it's episode number 2. Second episode, Dave. Oh, I forgot to introduce ourselves. This is your host, main host Herb, and my main man,
Dave. Hey, everyone.
Sweet. So, yeah, with episode 2, we'll just jump right in. The topic of this episode is our personal trading principles.
Yeah.
So you and I specifically, what are our trading principles?
Do we have principles?
I know, right?
Make money.
Yeah, I guess that is.
Don't lose money.
That's the main principle, yeah. Yes, make money, don't lose money.
Wow, yeah. That's an interesting question or, topic. I do have principles, but I don't know if I've actually sat down and, written them out, but I do have principles. That's true. I guess the easiest one, I remember we were talking with, Nelson and Yao there, and about a year ago, and we're talking about some, I can't remember, someone was going to buy Smith & Wesson, some gun companies.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
So I guess simply one of my principles are, one of them is that I don't like to buy stocks for weapons companies, like arms manufacturers. Let it be like small handguns and maybe even not even hunting, but big companies like Lockheed Martin, Boeing, even Boeing actually.
Yeah.
So that's one.
That's a really, really good principle. And I think that's something, that's another stock lesson. Know what company you're investing in. Like, are you investing in child labor? And, anything that's criminal within the corporation? I mean, racism is a large component.
Exactly. And why just a violent gun violence or weapon violence? Why not other subjects? And it's a very good question,
Yeah. I mean, reverting back to episode 1, when you mentioned your first time investing was in a diamond company, and I jokingly said, was it blood diamonds,
Right.
Or clean diamonds or whatever, but, was it legitimate diamond manufacturing and mining, or were people getting exploited and so forth?
For sure. And I guess kind of the follow-up to that is, if you do find out a company that you're investing in does something that you don't agree with, ethically, and stuff like that, legally even maybe not even legally, would you still invest in it?
Yeah, good point.
When it's making money, when it's making crazy money,
Yeah. I mean, well, first of all, that's a great principle and a good start. I mean, hell, you drop something heavy before you even really get into
That's low-hanging fruit.
Because you're right. I think there's always duality of because you want to make money, right?
Yeah.
And then, if you see the potential of making a lot of money, then naturally you're going to go in that direction. But then there's a level of ethics and integrity.
Yeah.
And it all correlates. It all correlates on the decision that you make coming into the stock market. But in addition, to what you're investing in. And then the company, is there integrity within the company?
Yeah.
It's a lot of components. But yeah, I mean, that's great. Like if you if you have certain core principles that like you're not into gun violence, so of course you're not going to invest into a gun company. Let's say if like you're into like holistic medicine or you don't believe in like prescription meds, then you're not going to invest in pharma. No, that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah. And I would say just on a more common sense, coming into investing, then yes, you want to know the company regardless, whether it's shady or not.
Yeah.
But, obviously, is it profitable? Is it legitimate? Is it good product?
Yeah.
Or is it schmuck,
Yeah.
So,
well, what about you? What's one of your principles?
Man. Well, you mentioned a good one. I was thinking, just starting the show, like, what are my principles?
I picked the world piece of, principles,
I know. I feel like I should say something prolific. You know what I mean?
What, you don't believe?
I'm like,
in
well,
world
my
peace?
principles is making money. Like, oh, you fucking greedy piece of shit. No. I totally agree with your principles, and I think that's great. So I want to safely say I'll add on to that instead of being indifferent. So to add on to that, I would say the principle is, just make sure. This is difficult.
Yeah.
Well, I was gonna say it in relation to like.
It doesn't have to be like
Well, I was gonna say something as simple as being grounded with the money that you're making. Don't develop greed and understand that wealth is intended for the foundation of a community. Form of giving back. But that's very subjective. So, like, I'm not saying, like, oh, yeah, you make a lot of money, make sure that you donate to charity. I think that's very cliche to say.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah, but for me, coming into the stock market, like, I always tell myself that the point of making money is I'm thinking of retirement. I'm thinking of what foundation that I can build for my future kids, future family, and so forth. And then making sure that my family's okay, that I can take care of any immediate need. But I stay strong to that principle, obviously, so I don't develop any greed. And again, just being grounded, telling myself like, okay, I'm investing in this. The overall goal is, this is going to take me and my family to the next level. Mm-hmm. But it's like, I'm not coming in here to get rich quick. So I'm not going to do some obscured form of like trading or investing, I see.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
so you have plans for for the money you make investing. You have not just simply, hoarding money or accumulating more money, but you have plans for
absolutely
for each dollar that you're earning.
Yeah. I mean, I'll even confess I don't have any kids, but, I know for sure that, once I decide to have children, tuition, education and stuff, I have enough to prep for that. So that type of thing. One of my personal goals, I would love a vacation house eventually. Seriously, just a place you can go R&R.
Where, like in France or something?
Man, I would love that. Man, anywhere where it's water, beach, landscape, nature.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. But it'd probably be in Latin America. I love Latin America.
Okay.
Yeah, it's beautiful out there. I love the art, the color. I mean, of course, it depends on when you are, but a few of the places I've been.
Calling out to South Central America. Here comes Herb.
I'm telling you. Bienvenido.
Let's see.
Yo voy pronto.
You talked about a really good principle, and I think
your principle was better though.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, thanks.
But yeah.
I think it's but I think you mentioned a really good one as well. About greed, and that I think that is, especially for investing.
Yeah.
That can be maybe the root of all evil. And people's problems. So. Yeah, I think there are actually, I do believe, I'm trying to kind of formulate them into words, but I think there are some principles based on greed alone that I've kind of decided to try to keep, Mm-hmm. So, well, maybe not necessarily greed, but one of them, let's see. Well, of course, don't get too greedy. I think everyone knows that. Every person's mother or father has told them that.
Yeah.
But I think that what can help with that is, let's see, there's a sense that, you need to rush up and buy things and you missed out on something, some FOMO,
Yeah. FOMO.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That FOMO. Be patient.
Yeah.
Whatever you're seeing now, even though GameStop shoots up, triple digits, that's not actually the first time, a short squeeze has happened,
Of course. Yeah.
And yeah, I get it. It's not going to happen every day, and it's amazing to watch when it does, but it will happen again. And so don't rush into things.
Okay, story time. A good example. No, you just mentioned a good point. Not a good example. I'm sorry, but you mentioned a point. Made me think of Duel.
Oh
D-U-O.
yeah, Duo. Yeah.
Yeah. So Duel was this.
Is that short squeeze?
It was a pump and dump.
Oh, okay.
And that's when I learned about what a pump and dump is when we got into that stuff. But Duel is this Chinese-based stock, meaning that it's a company in China. I forget what location, but I think it was in the regards of real estate.
Real estate, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't know if it was like an ETF or something like that.
Yeah, I can't. I actually bought that in that craze. Well,
We both bought it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I feel partially guilty because I kind of influenced it. I mentioned it in the group, like, yeah, anyone checking out Duel, like this stock?
That was the worst.
But see, the thing is, like, I didn't do any research at all.
Yeah.
We just both saw how crazy aggressively bullish it was getting.
FOMO to the max.
I'm talking about it went 0 to 100, literally, not figuratively, in a matter of like hours. Yeah, we bought into it, and I think it maxed at like 138, and then it just aggressively dropped all the way to like, what, $12?
12, yeah.
And see, I bought it at 50, so I might have like made, well, I don't know how many, I didn't buy a lot of shares. Obviously, it was moving way too fast, but I probably made, I would say no more than, let's say $700. I'm just kind of shooting that out there.
Well,
I
you
can
made
remember.
money on that one. Okay.
But no, I lost. I never trade. I just assumed that it was going to go higher.
Yeah.
Or I was going to wait for it to stabilize. Yeah, it shot all the way to 138 and just bloop, went right to $12. So then I end up losing like the same amount that I gained. So I don't, it happens.
Yeah. GameStop, it reminded me of that as well. Yeah.
But I mean, GameStop was more, the way I took it is more like a vigilantes in the stock market. They're kind of going against the uber rich that you can say manipulate the value, maybe inflate it or devalue it in a way where they can just kind of make their money leave the market. I think that was just some of the rhetoric on the GameStop. Yeah. So that's a little different. With DUO, I don't even know. Well, I don't know. I mean, I think I read one article about why it shot up, and I think they said it was a mistake. I don't know what that meant. Like a mistake on a couple of investors might have read the name wrong and thought they were investing in something else.
Yeah, like Duolingo or something.
Yeah.
That's what what? For a second, I do look at the company overviews and everything, but yeah, I was like, oh, okay, this is Duolingo. And I've actually used it. I was like, well, I didn't think the company was worth that much, but I mean, stock's going up. Who's am I to say,
Yeah. Yeah, but then you do have the pump and dump, and the pump and dump is basically when a company purposely would inflate the value of the stock, make it way higher than what it's actually worth. People buy into it, and then it crash.
Yeah, I mean, the GameStop thing was kind of interesting. I mean, just a little segue here, but GameStop thing was kind of interesting because you often hear about manipulation on the mass level, but a lot of this manipulation. Seems to help the big institutions.
Yeah.
And I think GameStop was a good example of somewhat of a manipulation, is more of a consensus, I guess, but a form of manipulation that kind of, helped the so-called little guys against the big institutions,
Yeah.
Big institutions with a huge capital, they're, what do they call it? High frequency trading, all these tricks up their sleeves, time and money.
But we do have to mention the social media influence, the Reddit component. Yeah. We live in a world now where you can create all these echo chambers and create these, alliances.
These communication tools,
yeah.
Can you imagine if this had to be done via pen and paper, old school mail?
And no one would know.
Yeah.
That's why it was a lot more fraud and easy to get away with these things, like the Ponzi schemes and all this other crap.
Yeah.
Wolf of Wall Street, these type of stories.
And people actually used it to their advantage. They're well aware of doing this, causing panics or stirs. And quite honestly, I think people still do that today.
Yeah, and actually on a more on a more like optimistic approach, or you know, I mean, I know it was a lot of judgment with Robinhood with what they did with stopping people from buying in and kind of like putting their influence on the volatility of GameStop. You know, people kind of oppose that, think they were wrong. I don't know, violating some right or some policy. But what that's a good sign of when you talk about manipulation and frauds in the stock market is that we've become a lot more secure than back then. I don't know if you remember, but I told you I watched some documentary about the stock market plunge in 1929.
Yeah.
And they were talking about the reason why it happened, because a ton of crooks was in the stock market, just inflating it, fucking it over until it just blew up, went to an all-time low. But obviously they didn't have the technology back then. Like trading and buying stocks was legitimately on pen and paper. So, you know, it's hearsay, she say, how you say that shit? Hearsay.
He said, she said.
She said, she said, I can't say that. Yeah. But you get the point. Yeah. You get the point. But, I mean, hell, this is back in the day when you had paper boys. You know,
paper boys and milkman.
Yeah. So like your news source is only coming from one component.
Oh yeah.
You know, so it's easy to really be corrupt in that nature. But yeah, I mean, we live in a more transparent world. Like you said, the form, like the openness of communication, more transparency, these echo chambers within social media, these groups. So it's, you know, it's just, it's easier to detect things, detect things that's wrong. And then some of these technologies can help prevent it, can help correct it and fix it. And actually that makes me more optimistic into the market because of the technology. And I think it's only going to advance and get more sophisticated. Now,
you're right.
Yeah.
It's not transparent yet.
Not as.
It's like.
Not as, but.
Yeah.
And that's sort of the disruption of Robinhood, because Robinhood is like, I would say they kind of made it transparent. They create this very simplistic platform of trading. Now, me personally, with my experience, I don't use Robinhood because I feel like it's just that. It's something for beginners. You don't know what the hell you're doing.
Oh man.
You want to spend no more than like $20 on a stock, then Robinhood would be great. You just open up an account, there's no commission, there's no nothing, and you get in. But my thing with Robinhood is, you know, like they have that 24-hour customer support virtual. Like you have to send an email when you have a problem with your account. You really use
customer support. You really use that aspect.
I do, yes.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, this is your money.
I just think
you know what I mean. This is your money.
Like
you have to have control and safety of your money, and it's like if you have your money in an institution, you want to talk to a human first of all. And the thing with Robinhood, they don't even have virtual bots. Like you legit have to just send an email, and that's frustrating. So if you having a problem at that moment, it may take them a fucking month to reply to your issue. So like I said, that's very, and that's what it was propagated. It was a platform for millennials. So if you like some young adult kid, you know, maybe 22, 23, got a little bit of money, maybe $1,000 in your pocket, Robinhood would be a great source.
Dude, yeah. Robinhood, I feel like a little bit two ways about it. It's democratizing. It's making things accessible, but it's like democratizing things like giving a teenager an AK-47, $7 AK-47. They're not giving him like a fancy, you know, German made, you know, with like all this accessories. You're getting a $7 AK-47 and kicking him out onto the street.
Let's not forget about the kid that, I mean, sad story. Condolences to him and his family for sure. But the kid that killed himself.
Yeah.
Making that trade with Robinhood, he like went negative $1 million or some shit.
$176,000.
Yeah, so what you just said is a perfect analogy, like giving a kid an AK-47 and creating that much damage.
Dude, man, it's like it's gonna start a revolution, you know. This is like this kind of yeah. Anyways, we were talking about principles.
yeah, that's true. But yeah, I guess I mean, what would be another principle? I mean, I like what you led in with. That was perfect and beautiful. Just the whole, you know, I won't invest into a gun company because XYZ. Like there's a very, to me, I took that as a very socially conscious factor in what you're going to invest. Yeah. I think that's awesome.
Here's a principle I think is kind of, I find kind of important is that when you start trading, and even if you've been doing it for a long time, is people are going to tell you a lot of things.
Yeah.
You know, and they may have your intention in mind, or they may have their own interest, you know. They may want to pump up a stock.
Yeah.
I think a principle, I guess, more than advice, but a principle is that you should always be evaluating your results. So after, we all have reasons to purchase things or invest in things, but at the end of the day or sometime after, you should look at what you've done and reevaluate it. Was it something that I did, or maybe I was, talked into doing somehow, consciously or subconsciously? And then more importantly, this principle is to help build up your own experience and your own ability to make better judgments, because there's so many Jim Cramers out there, and especially investing with other people, everyone's throwing you articles and books, and to me it's just another. These people are not investing. These people are simply part of the investment process to sell their product.
Yeah. I mean, investing is just a selling marketplace. You're just kind of selling a portion of the company.
It's an economy of its own, like just the act of trading,
Yeah. Like the way you broke it down, I don't really think I have any good principles.
and things like that, I guess, practically speaking, and I think it probably helped to be practical, is that, a lot of people are going to say, oh, I'm an investment broker. You can hire me. You give me your money. That's a service. You're not investing. You're hiring someone else to.
Yeah. And actually, that's an advice, or rather just my opinion. For me, like, as far as like an investment broker or an advisor or just anyone that you pay to manage your money, I think it has to be in a situation where you're way too busy to pay attention to your own money. So then you make that conscious decision to put that control in someone else's hands, which is very valid. But if you're stepping into something that's new, first time, you don't need that. You want to have all control of what you're doing first, so you understand it. And then once you understand it, then, you can take that chance with someone else. Because if anything go bad in the responsibility of someone else, then at least you know what went wrong because you understand what you're getting into and what you're investing in, adding an advisor. Yeah. But you always want to pay attention and have as much control in your money.
Yeah, man. Don't let someone drive your car for you.
Exactly. You don't have to. Yeah.
It's all right if you let people do that, and knowing full well what you're getting into, But that's one of them, I guess. One of the principles.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what's some more principles that we can add. I think for the most part, we're just talking about integrity. Just
trying to be a good person in this
integrity in the stock market, right?
Yeah, exactly. Just follow 10 commandments. Don't steal.
It's like, fuck it, just go for all of it,
Yeah.
Why not? Take everything you had. No, I'm just kidding. No.
Oh, but, wow.
Yeah, so when we I have a question for you, Dave. So in regards of principle, so kind of like not reverting back, but just kind of comparing from the first episode, like your first trading experience. So you just mentioned your principle, but with you going into the stock market, like you already had your experience with the diamond company.
Oh yeah.
And then after that, what did you like hope for giving it another chance, like investing in another company and continuing to invest into the stock market?
Yeah. So
were you like, fuck this, I got to make my $300 back?
Oh.
Or were you like, well, I see the potential of the market, even though I lost money, I'll just kind of give it another chance and but do things differently? Yeah,
actually, good point that you bring it up. I guess that's kind of when I started forming principles. Because the first investment was hype.
Yeah.
It's classic media package that the company obviously did and all that, whatever. was in the news and it was kind of hype. But I guess one of the first principles at that point, around that point, was that I should know what I'm investing or what the company does. Like, yeah, okay, the company made diamonds, but do I know anything about diamonds? No. Like, I didn't know what a carat was, and I just knew all the, I knew all the talking points that salespeople tell you.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what real diamond miners would know, So at that point, I kind of got, I have a tech, I know some knowledge in tech. So I started sticking to that more, and of course that was, a big thing and it still is. But energy stocks were a big thing around that time, oil and gas. And it's not like I know a lot in oil and gas, but these are things that I kind of started learning about. Maybe not so much about how to make it, well, more about how to make it, but more of how the economy is supported by that. Transportation, the extraction, there's many facets of it.
Yeah, you made a great point, and I would agree with
you. You have to understand that.
You have to know the product, is what you're saying.
How does it go from the ground to your gas tank? And why is this price that you see every day changing, literally even multiple times a day? Like, wow. Food doesn't change that much.
Yeah, that's true. I would say the same. And I like how you said it. Like after that experience, that's when you start to learn principle because obviously like.
Yeah, I could have invested in a bunch of flying car companies,
Yeah. You could have went down a rabbit hole in the stock market, which you would never want to be in.
Well,
I don't even know if that exists because
I'm sure it is. I'm sure there's a subreddit.
I mean, I would just say like the rabbit hole would just lead you to brokenness, right?
And also,
like, how can you go down a rabbit hole in stock investing and actually succeed in that? Go down that tunnel.
And even at that time when I was kind of starting out, I knew people. Friends of family, older or others, just other people who actually kind of lost money in the stock market. Yeah. So when you start talking to people who are losing money in the stock market, you learn also a whole lot, but on a different
I guess that'd be
side of the coin.
Well, I was gonna say, I think that'd be a good example of how you could go down a rabbit hole in the stock market is when you invest and you lose money and without any consideration of changing like your strategy, your technique, or just taking anything else in consideration. Like you said, developing principles, but you invest in something and you lose money and then you go look for the next hype. Invest in that and then you lose money. And then you look for just something out of desperation. The next hype, you go for that and then you lose money. And it's like, damn, when are you going to learn your lesson? So I guess that's when you can go down the rabbit hole. Yeah. Yeah, but it's
trying to find that next.
Yeah. But the result is not going to be good. And obviously, it's going to be brokenness.
I kind of feel like, now that you mention it, I was thinking back over the 10 years, making some transition, like oil and gas to in technology. But I also invested in some agriculture because there was a drought, a while back. EV, electric cars now, and then a whole leap to crypto, as small it may be, is still an investment.
I remember actually.
Wow. Now that I think about it, geez.
Yeah, not to cut you off, but I remember it's basically just in connection to what you were saying earlier about knowing the product, knowing the industry. I was thinking about investing in clothing because obviously fashion design, that's my background. So I was investing in some clothing companies, but I remember just looking up articles, and I think maybe 5 or 6 years ago, I remember this one article said the worst job to have nowadays at a corporate level is fashion design.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, because everything is outsourced.
Yeah.
So that to actually be a designer, you're very disposable. It's a very transitional.
No in-house designers and.
Yeah, because it's all about trends and vanity and how you look.
Yeah. So
you can be this hot designer, for these X, Y, Z number of seasons, but if you're not continually producing that creativity and that sold out collection appeal, I guess, you can be replaced. Something young and fresh, kind of like the music game,
Oh man, empires wax and wane. Everyone comes and goes. Your 15 minutes of fame are up.
Yeah,
It's
so,
just stage right.
exactly. So I remember seeing those articles, and then I would just read articles about like the toxicity, the toxicity of fashion, like the environmental factors. It's the second largest pollutant. So
Really?
yeah.
Oh wow, the fashion industry.
Yeah, it's the second largest. I think second to oil production.
Well, okay, wow.
Yeah, I mean, but again, I'm relating this to like 5 or 6 years ago, and I was doing
Someone's
that type
gonna
of
hear
research. It
this?
might have changed, but
I doubt that. Nothing changed. Like industry, especially old industry, doesn't change that quick. Someone might be listening to this and like,
what was this popular documentary? I don't know if you ever heard of it, called True Cost. But no, I got a chance to see it, and it kind of exposed a lot of that.
wow.
I think they were the disruptors that kind of like awakened consumers and really saw the problem.
I wonder if someone based on principles will set up a fashion company to totally disrupt that sector.
Yeah. I think after that film, a lot of companies kind of like took that transition of a more
Okay.
sustainable approach. I mean, there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. There's a lot of work to be done, but
For sure.
companies are finally starting to kind of push things forward and really, really combat this. And actually, you mentioned technology. That's a large component of it. But it's still relatively new, and I think some of the controversies is like automation and AI that might replace the need of humans.
Yeah.
So that's always a risk. But again, it's still too new to make that judgment. But I know, having certain technology that can complete things that's too strenuous for a lot of workers, especially when you talk about clothing manufacturing. It's a very tedious.
Yeah. And toxic, you said.
Yeah. Dealing with chemicals and stuff. Like if you're working in the denim industry,
Yeah.
definitely like bleaching agents and stuff, that
Oh, okay. Yeah.
fabric particles, all type of stuff. That's like a whole nother conversation. But anyways, just getting all this news in regards of the fashion industry, that turned me off to wanting to make that investment. So I know if I was to invest in a clothing company, there has to be some type of technological innovation component.
Okay.
That would be the only thing for me to consider. But like if you're just like a retail brand, like let's just say Macy's, I would not get a stock in Macy's. And I think right now, I mean, hell, they're almost out of business.
Yeah. I mean, the whole retail landscape in general.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, and like I said, it's just 5 to 6 years, and you see now that it's starting to die out. So that was a good judgment.
Even pre-COVID,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this kind of goes back to some investment, I wouldn't say principle, but strategies, like I talked about the drought. And
Yeah.
since 2000, which is like what, 12, 13 years ago now, the recession, I've been noticing like a lot of a lot of stores closing, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
With very few exceptions of certain stores opening,
Yeah.
So, and the ones that are opening are like dollar stores, which I don't think are a very healthy sign of the economy,
Yeah.
the thriving of dollar stores. So, yeah, that's what you mean.
Yeah. But I mean, you kind of going off with the whole
Yeah,
the whole lockdown thing, though, right?
even before lockdown,
Yeah.
all the retailers were closed, closing.
Yeah, no, you're right. The only reason I asked that because I was thinking too. I was just gonna say like, especially like from the innovation of working from home and how that's becoming normal. Like a lot of companies are realizing that you don't really need all this commercial retail space, so that might even influence more for more clothing stores to close, and then you're just gonna have this nuance of clothing e-commerce.
I wonder if there's going to be like a kind of everyone just really wants to be, when things open up, just really want to be around people. So like there's tons of retail stores that open for like short periods of time. But I don't know. I'm kind of I don't think retail was done right. It's just kind of copy and paste.
Yeah.
These malls, I still hate looking at these malls,
Yeah.
So maybe a new form of retail will be born.
It's an overconsumption pump. It's designed for that, for you to just buy so much that's just not needed.
Yeah.
And then like the way fashion operates, like you have to have something different each season. And then depending on what level, like the forecast is sometimes 2, 3, 4 years ahead, which is, to me, is just not necessary. Like constantly you're looking for something different. So that obviously that's going to transition and compelling people to want to buy more and more and more, especially if you're loyal to trends and you're highly influenced to pop culture, it's easy to fall into that. And yeah, I mean, what changed for me as a designer is when I learned like on a corporate level of what these companies are paying for manufacturing and the whole process of it.
Okay.
Like it's so relatively cheap in comparison to the actual talent.
Yeah.
Like I can make a dress, and charge someone like, $1,000 because I made the dress, but then they can take that same dress and just take it to another country and it get made for like 50 cents.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So when you talk, going back to the principles component, like I'm not talking about stock investing, but just that principle as a designer. Like I just stand against that industry standard.
Yeah.
So it kind of like, honestly, it really discouraged me because that's the thing. Like I want to create beautiful product but I know I need manufacturing, and the way it's just set up.
Yeah.
Is.
Well, why would you want to be involved in that kind of thing?
Exactly.
Why would you want to put your own money, your hard-earned money, into something like that? And if people don't know about it now, when will they find out? And when these dirty little secrets come out, oh man, no one, like those companies do not fare well.
Yeah.
Forget about it. So what's the point?
And not to forget that competition,
especially when you have options, like more. I wouldn't say real options. You have more options nowadays.
Mm-hmm. But let's not forget competition.
Yeah, competition's a funny thing.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you can't really rule out any competition, even if a company is, seems like they're dying. But
yeah,
it's a funny thing. Competition can bring whole new life into companies.
So I got a question for you.
Yeah.
This might be a tough one. So in correlation to competition and principles, I feel like competition can sometimes, distract or interfere with principles because you do have to compete, right?
Yeah.
But when is there a moment when competitiveness is a good thing? Do you think it's ever a good thing?
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, I think competition's a very important part.
So it's necessary. Yeah.
I think it is necessary, but it's one of those fine line. It's one of those fine line kind of things that people do cross from competition into anti-competitive behavior. So like breaking laws, rules or regulations.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, and just like in real life, we all know people. There's some people that are super competitive and honestly will do whatever they can to win. And we're talking about like a potato sack race.
Yeah.
Like we're not even talking about like president. We're just talking about, oh, okay, yeah. You won that that no one cares about. So one of the principles, I guess, kind of alluding to that I'm actually a very firm believer, kind of. I'm not too sure if it's a real principle, but it's this concept of human nature. So you'll never take the human out of the human nature, or sometimes referred to as the beast.
Oh, yeah,
out of humans, Yeah,
yeah.
You put them in any situation, any system with rules and regulation, but you'll never remove the beast.
Benefit of the doubt, right?
Yeah, you gotta be careful, I mean, people kind of say, oh, it could never happen or shouldn't happen, or it's beyond us. It's not true.
Humans are made flawed,
Hey, if you piss and take a shit, you're just as flawed can be flawed as anyone else that takes a piss and shit, even the Pope.
Yeah, you're right. Nah, good point.
Anyways,
yeah, Dave. Well,
looks like
where we at on time?
Wow.
Second episode, we're almost at like 40 minutes yet. Second episode in. I know our first episode we had a short one.
Short one was about the same.
Yeah. You think anything not you think, but you want to add anything more?
Not much. To all the folks who've tuned in for our second episode. Wow, thank you even more.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah. And just I know we don't have much set up, but keep on listening. We hope to deliver episodes on a regular basis. Like we said, we're just two regular guys. We have day jobs and our own daydreams as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I mean, we're still new, so we're learning in this process for sure. But Dave, I think you actually gave a lot of good insight. I just love what you said with the whole principles, personal trading principles. Yeah, for me, I don't know. It was like the way you broke it down, I didn't really know what to say. I'm like, maybe my principles is not really aligned as I thought the stock market.
No.
Because for me, like, I do like to make money.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah.
And I probably, like, honestly, I probably did invest in some bullshit just so I can make a quick buck. Like, shame to say.
Fair enough.
I'm just trying to think when. Maybe not. It's just the way you broke it down. I never really thought that deep into a company in regards of like the integrity component.
Yeah.
And not knowing a company, it could be, killing people,
Yeah. It's complicated. That's for sure. It is complicated.
No, for sure. No, it is. But yeah, I guess it's a good time to end it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hope you guys got a lot of enjoyment out of this and thought about some things. And if you're getting into the stock market, think about your principles and ask yourself, why are you going to invest? What's your goal? What money means to you? But yeah, just really think about these things, because I think integrity is very, very important, and just being socially aware and conscious. Mm-hmm. Obviously, you and I, Dave, are very against greed and just anything that's toxic and bad and illegal. But other than that, yeah, we're going to have some other episodes. Like I said, we have tons of topics, a shit ton to talk about in regards of just being in the stock market. But this is episode 2 of the Hustle, the Struggle Investment Podcast. I hope you guys tune into the next one. You all enjoyed this one. This is your host, Herb. And again, my main man.
This is Dave. Remember to invest wisely and not your children's tuition fund.
Damn right. All right, I hope you all enjoyed. I'll see you on the next one. Peace. Bye. Thank you, everyone who's here listening. For a disclaimer, we are not professionals nor certified stockbrokers. We do sell, buy, and trade stocks, but at our own discretion. The content that we talk about is based on our own opinion, not fact, and the content is for entertainment purposes only. Remember, what you invest is at your own risk. If you know nothing about stock investing, we highly suggest you seek professional help.